I told you I'd be back. This is KD Drummond of bloggingtheboys.com, and on the heels of our top 5 plays that negatively impacted the Dallas Cowboys 2012 season, we're back to talk about the top 5 plays that positively impacted the season. Trust me, this is going to be a lot more fun for everybody. Okay, number 5. We're going to start off with the Dez Bryant touchdown catch against the Washington Redskins, Thanksgiving Day, Week 12. There was about a minute left in the third quarter. Dallas was getting abused. I'm sure everybody remembers how that game broke down. It was close, and then Washington exploded in the second quarter. They were actually up 28-6 by the time we got to this point, when Dallas had actually forced a punt by Washington, punted the ball, pinned Dallas at their own 15-yard line. On the very first play, Tony Romo again was feeling the pressure. He was flushed out the pocket. This time he escaped. He ran all the way actually to the outside of the right numbers, and he fired a bullet past to Dez Bryant, who had actually started up on the left side, outside the numbers. He was jammed at the line. He pushed through that. He fought through Josh Wilson, came on a crossing pattern, and Romo threaded the needle to Dez Bryant right past the diving fingertips of Josh Wilson. And Bryant was able to take the pass, race up the right sidelines with the assistance of a great Dwayne Harris block that freed him for the last couple yards, and it ended up being an 85-yard touchdown pass. Now, like I said, Dallas was down 28-6 at this time, but it sparked the comeback against the Washington Redskins on Thanksgiving. Obviously, Dallas didn't come all the way back, but they did make it a one-score game. They tried the onside kick that didn't work. But regardless, the fact that Dallas was being embarrassed on national TV, they actually pulled together the internal fortitude in order to come back and actually make a game of it when all things looked lost. It was a testament to what Dallas was doing under head coach Jason Garrett for the year, the fact that they would never give up. I spoke in the previous video about the fact that yes, it is a problem that they were always falling behind, but in this case we're looking at the positives, so I'll say that this Dez Bryant catch for 85 yards just kind of symbolized what he could do, the speed that he has. The fact that he could break free from the cornerback was very crucial, and you saw it throughout the second half of the season. Okay, play number 4 is 8 straight to DeMarco Murray. The game was against the Cincinnati Bengals, Week 14 of the season. Obviously, everybody remembers that. It was right on the heels of the tragedy that took the life of Cowboys practice squatter Jerry Brown Jr. at the hands of the drunk driving accident by Josh Brent. The team had just gone through this. I mean, it was so fresh, and they had to go out and play the game in Cincinnati. They did that. They were actually down 19-10 throughout the game. It was like Cincinnati's offense wasn't doing what they were doing, or else they probably would have had a 20-something point lead. But down by 9 points, Dallas was able to break through. They got a touchdown from Romo to Dez Bryant. It was a 27-yard crossing pattern that brought them back with a little bit over 6 minutes remaining. The Dallas defense was finally able to get a stop, and they got the ball back with a little bit under 4 minutes remaining to go. And then it turned into kind of vintage Cowboys. First of all, there was a dropped interception by Terrence Newman that kind of saved the day and let Dallas keep going. But once they got the ball to the 50-yard line, they went to a blast from the past and just fed it to their stud running back, which is something that Dallas honestly hasn't been able to do since the days of Emmitt Smith. Of course, I'm not comparing DeMarco Murray to Emmitt Smith. I'm just saying that they haven't really had a top-tier runner where they could do this sort of thing. Dallas gave the ball to DeMarco Murray on 8 straight plays, or at least they attempted to. It was a mix of run plays as well as pass plays. The crucial one came when Dallas was actually in a 3rd and 5 situation, and they were out of the shotgun snap. It was about a minute to go in the game. There was an inside handoff to Murray, who bounced it outside. He broke through a tackle, was tripped up, and he hand-planted in order to push himself past the first down marker. What this did was, obviously, it kept Dallas in the game with being able to not have to kick a 50-plus yard field goal, but it also allowed the clock to keep running and them to be in complete control. If they hadn't converted there, Cincinnati would have had an opportunity to get the ball back. So this was kind of the game-sealing play, because Cincinnati was now out of timeouts, and Dallas was going to be able to do what they wanted to do in order to set up the game-winning field goal, which they hit when Dan Split'em Bailey nailed his 6th career game-winning field goal, 6 out of 7. He obviously hit one the following week against Pittsburgh, which we'll talk about later. But again, in his young career, Dan Bailey has been everything that the Cowboys wanted. And this game truly signified a positive for the Cowboys. Again, this was right after the Jerry Brown incident, so you could see how the emotions were all wrapped up in this game. You could see it on the players on the sideline in the way they were celebrating. So this definitely gets a nod in our top 5 positive plays for the year. Moving on to number 3, we're actually going to stay with DeMarco Murray. This goes back to week 1, though. It was a third quarter run. There was 4:35 left to go in the game. The Giants had actually cut the lead to 4. They had just scored a touchdown when Dallas got the ball back. And it was 2nd and 3 or something of that sort, where Tony Romo gave a pitch to DeMarco Murray to the right. It looked like he was going to be bottled up for actually a loss. Matthias Kiwanuka beat Doug free. Surprise. And he was actually able to create contact in the backfield with Murray. Except what happened was Murray wasn't the one that went down. The defender did. Kiwanuka was knocked to the ground. Murray decided to change directions, went to his left. He was greeted by Justin Tuck, who seemed that he was going to wrap up Murray for a loss. Murray spun out of that tackle. Then he went back right and found an alley along the right sideline to go for a big 48-yard gain. It actually looked like Murray had a chance to go for a touchdown with Dez Bryant leading the convoy, but for some reason Murray cut inside back to the Giant defenders. If you're asking me, it's because it was week 1 of the season. He didn't have his endurance, and he just basically gave up on the play because he couldn't run anymore. But, I won't hold that against him because it was still a dynamic play that symbolized at the time what Cowboys fans thought they had in Murray after what he showed in his rookie season that was cut short by the leg injury against the Giants, that he was going to be a dynamic runner for them. It didn't work out that way. The offensive line, obviously they had problems in this play, and they had problems throughout most of the season up until, the stretch run at the end. But still, DeMarco Murray showed that he is a number 1 running back when he can stay healthy. So that's why this play definitely makes the top 5. Moving on to number 2, and this one was in heavy competition for the top spot. It was Tony Romo's Romo-Diniac against the Philadelphia Eagles in Week 10. The Cowboys were trailing 17-10. They actually had a 10-7 halftime lead. They had knocked Mike Vick out of the game, brought in rookie Nick Foles for the Philadelphia Eagles, and they proceeded to let them take a 17-10 lead in the third quarter. It was actually a 3rd and 4 play. Romo was under heavy pressure, a theme of the season, as I keep saying. I think every single offensive play that I mentioned is going to start off with Romo was under heavy pressure. This time, he pump faked, and then he spun around to try to avoid the pressure that was coming from the right side, Doug Free's side, and he ended up spinning into Fletcher Cox, but he escaped that sack. He then stepped up in the pocket, did a miraculous duck under of a sandwich that was coming from both the front and the back, and then he was able to zip a pass 25 yards down the field to Miles Austin. For this play, I actually have to say that out of everything that we've seen for the season, this really has a chance to be the number 1 play simply because of the fact that it kind of turned around the Cowboys season. At the time, they were 3-5. Both them and the Eagles were 3-5. It was the first time that they had met, both being under 500 since like the early 90s. And their season was pretty much on the brink. If you lose to a team after their starting quarterback gets knocked out and fall to 3-6, your season is for all intents and purposes over. But this touchdown right here saved the game. This wasn't a touchdown. This led to a touchdown when Tony Romo found Dez Bryant on a diving, sprawling catch into the end zone. There was actually pass interference on the play. Dez Bryant held on to the ball. It was a beautiful touchdown, and that's really what stemmed the tide from the negativity and turned it into a positive. Dallas was able to come right back. Their defense was able to force a 3-and-out for Philadelphia, and Dwayne Harris returned that punt, raced right past former Cowboy Matt McBriar for a touchdown, and then on the ensuing drive, Dallas was able to tip a pass. Ernie Sims was able to disrupt the pass, and Brandon Carr intercepted it, and he returned the interception for a touchdown. This allowed Dallas to score 3 touchdowns within less than 3 minutes off of the game clock. It was exhilarating. It was on the road. The Philadelphia Eagles have been kicking the Cowboys' butt for the last few years, so this was kind of like a watershed, high-in-your-face moment that just made everybody feel great. And it really did turn the tide for the Cowboys season. Obviously, they only finished 8-8, but the positive momentum, they went from 3-5 to 8-6, winning 5 out of 6 games. And the play by Romo when he escaped the pressure has to be the symbol of that turnaround. That leads us to our number 1 play here. We're going to talk about Brandon Carr's Week 15 interception against Pittsburgh. The game was back and forth. Pittsburgh had taken the lead. Dallas had actually scored with about 7 minutes left, and then the game was back and forth until they went to overtime with no scoring. Pittsburgh got the ball back. When Ben Roethlisberger tried to hit Mike Wallace on a 12-yard out pattern, the throw was a little bit inside of Wallace, and Brandon Carr jumped the route. He made a diving interception and sprawled to the ground, but he stayed in bounds. Mike Wallace obviously wasn't ready for that. He thought Carr was going to go out of bounds, so he was a little bit slow to react, and then allowed Carr to jump up, race down to the goal line, and almost score before he was tackled right there at the goal line. Dallas, of course, went on to kick a game-winning field goal after positioning the kick in the middle of the field. It was Dan Bailey's now 7th career game-winning kick in 2 seasons, and Dallas was able to push their record to 8-6. This play was so important because the Pittsburgh Steelers fans had invaded Cowboy Stadium like they did 4 years earlier at Texas Stadium, which was pretty embarrassing to watch on TV and hear all of these Steelers fans cheering like everything was all in their favor, and to hear them so loud on the TV, it was just disheartening and sickening as a Cowboys fan. But the Cowboys got the last laugh and sent all of those Pittsburgh fans home a little bit salty on their road trip. So all in all, that was a miraculous play. It kind of gave Dallas fans much reason to believe in what was going on with Brandon Carr. He was a $50 million signing in the offseason, combined with a crucial interception he made to keep them in the game against Cincinnati the week earlier. It really got to show what Dallas got in their $50 million cornerback. So all in all, those are my top 5 positive plays from the 2012 season. Definitely appreciate you guys tuning in with us. Once again, this is KD Drummond of Blogging the Boys. Make sure you subscribe to our YouTube page, SBN Blogging the Boys. Don't forget about SBN NFL, as well as SB Nation. Salute.